Hey gang, uh, Mike here. So wanted to walk through something that I think a lot of people don't consider when they're setting up their workflows, and that's a follow-up email chain. I know a lot of times I'll get an initial lead inquiry for photography services, whether it be a wedding, a portrait session, what have you, and pardon me, I'm working through a cough. But yeah, so they'll email me and say, yeah, I'm looking for an inquiry. I want to ask some questions, and then they'll not follow up. My lead inquiry or lead capture forms are designed such that as soon as I get an inquiry, I send out a response email saying thank you for inquiring. Let's schedule a chat to talk more about what you want to do. And a lot of times that email gets lost, right? I've got a couple other tools and tricks that I use to make sure that people are aware that the email is coming. I actually have an automated text message system that goes out, which is super handy. But as far as a pure email follow-up goes, it's really, really tricky because, just mail doesn't always get seen, or, especially brides for weddings, they're emailing just a bazillion vendors when they're doing their initial planning, and stuff just gets lost and falling through the cracks, right? It's not intentional. So one of the really important things to do is to have a workflow that follows up, which is essentially just sending a couple emails saying, hey, want to make sure you saw my previous email. Are you still interested? Do you need any help? Do you have any questions about the information I provided you? That kind of good stuff. This is something that I make sure I do throughout the entire process, but I find it's most common to need it when clients first inquire. That's usually the biggest or the most frequent time when someone will send me an inquiry and they just don't respond to my initial response to their inquiry. So what I want to do is just walk through the setup that I have, and I'm actually going to show off Dubsado's newest feature, which is approve actions. Finally, they implemented it. I've been dying for this for since I've ever used the platform, which is a little over a year now. Again, sorry for the cough. So anyways, I'm going to walk through how I have mine set up, and I'm even going to show the content of my emails. Fair warning, I'm a little bit snarky, but that's part of my brand and my personality. So anyways, what I do is my emails, again, when a lead comes in the first time, it automatically sends a response and it automatically starts a workflow for that inquiry. So if someone says, I'm interested in taking portraits, it starts a lead capture workflow that's specific to portraiture, right? And what I always do is I always go manually in and add a second workflow, which is this follow-up workflow right here, okay? And again, so these workflows are running simultaneously, okay? And I'll show you a step I have in here to make sure that they don't keep running simultaneously if something happens and the client doesn't visually respond. So what you see is here is a breakdown of how often I ask to respond, how often I ask to send these out, all this stuff. There's no payment schedule associated with this. It's all just based on when the workflow is started, which I just say after all previous actions complete. For some reason, I still have issues with saying when workflow is started as a trigger action. I have to talk to Dubsado about that. But anyway, so first email for me goes out 2 days after that initial, or after I start the workflow, which is hopefully right after they initially inquire with me. I break mine down into 2, 5, 10, 20, 30, and 45 days worth of follow-up. Those are the increments that I follow up after, and that's 2 days after the inquiry, 5 days after the inquiry, 10 days after the inquiry, 20 days. You kind of get the idea. So you'll see it says follow-up 2 day, or follow-up 5 day, but it says trigger the action 3 days after the previous action, right? That's because I'm counting from, as is like time 0 here, which is when the workflow initially starts. So it's 2 days after we start the workflow plus 3 days, that's now 5 days, add another 5 days, that's 10 days. So kind of see how the math works. So that's what I do. So one of the key things you have to do with this is you do need to pre-draft your emails as the time sequence follow-up ones that you're going to do. Well, you don't have to. I just prefer to do it that way. You can customize the emails within the actual action steps. But anyway, so let's go into the first one I write, which is edit, right? And it's just the actions, just send an email 2 days after all previous actions complete. The new require approval, just a little checkbox right here. It's super handy. You'll actually get an email that says, hey, do you want to do this? Which is fantastic. Otherwise, you'll also see it, pardon me again, in the workflow itself, through these steps here. But anyway, so canned response, you can do that. Which for me, also, if you didn't notice, you can actually just type in and it'll narrow down the emails real quickly. Okay, boom, right here. Email send, subject line already built in. Hey, hope all is well. Wanted to follow up, make sure you got my last email. Did you have any questions? Real simple. From a psychology standpoint, you want to have the fewest call to actions, fewest questions possible, especially when you're doing a follow-up email. I find clients will better respond to your emails if you just give them one simple task to run with. So anyways, that's it. It's really simple, right? And I just apply that. Boom. So that's done. So again, I said all these to approve. So I'm going to walk through again the responses I use. Again, just letting you know, so I'm a little bit snarky. So my 5-day follow-up is just, hey, how are you? Week going well. I haven't heard back since our last email exchange. I want to make sure I stayed on your radar. Is there anything I can help you with today, right? Really simple. Again, it's requiring approval step 3 days after the previous step, which makes it 5 because we went 2 plus 3 equals 5, right? 5-day follow-up, right? Type it in. There it is. Yay, right? So just walking through that. Next one for the 10-day. Hey there, stranger. Been a few days since we last spoke. Insert their name. So again, it's personalized. I always use the merge tags here or the variables, which you find, here. Would you like to set up a phone call to resume our conversation about your inquiry? Ooh, actually, that's a good thing I should add. Can I add that in real quick? Ooh, link. No. Okay. So I need to change up this thing. What I just struck me is, if you aren't aware, Dubsado just added a scheduler feature. So you can actually send out a link and say, hey, let's set up a phone call. And it'll actually send them a link where they can look at your calendar and schedule a conversation, whether it be in person, online, however you want to set it up, which is really, really powerful. So I need to update this for that. Pause. Sorry about that. I love my mom. She's got impeccable timing. So anyways, I think we were on day 20. Yeah. Anyways, okay, this is where I get snarky. Hello. One of my favorite novels from school was All Quiet on the Western Front by Eric Murray Remarque. Were you a fan by chance? Just checking in again to ask if there's anything I can do for you. Yeah. By the way, my email template signature is in all of these. It's just regards Mike Glatzer and then links, contact, stuff like that. Okay, next, follow up at the 30-day mark. Hi, are you still looking for a photographer? Real straightforward, cut and dry, cut to the chase. Just, there's no reason beating around the bush. Finally, since I have not heard from you on this, I have to assume your priorities have changed. This one, if they haven't responded at this point, I've actually gotten some pretty good responses on this. Actually, I get the best responses off of my 20-day one, which is the favorite novels, All Quiet on the Western Front, because it's super snarky. I've had a couple of portrait clients who run businesses ask if they could steal that for their own follow-up email chains. It gets a real great response. Usually people laugh. And if they don't, they're not the right customer for me. Sorry. Okay, so anyways, we finished the whole email chain. You guys can send as many as you want, as few as you... Let's try this again. You can send as many follow-up emails as you want. You can send as few email responses as you want. You can word them however you choose. Again, I just recommend keeping them to simple, one call to action responses. Right? Anyway, so after all this, if they don't respond to that final 45-day follow-up, chances are they're not going to follow up. So I archive the project. That's the next step after 5 days. And then the conditional trigger I have built into all of this is, say, the conversation. I'm really sorry about this, guys. It's It's worse for me, I swear. Okay, so finally I have pause workflow immediately after the contract is signed by the client. Now, usually I'll cancel this once I have the initial consultation with the client, because at that point we're already talking and all that good stuff. But occasionally, I will leave it running if they are being slow to respond between, proposal, contracts, and all that good stuff in the initial consult. But what this conditional line basically does is say, hey, if you start this and out of the blue, we haven't had a conversation, but they sign the contract, stop, right? Don't keep sending emails and all that jazz and driving them crazy. Yeah, actually, can I do this after a proposal? I can do it after a form is cleared. Oh, actually, I can do it after an appointment is scheduled. That's what I should do. Ooh. Yeah, that's the downside to this. So this is what I would do, because again, Dubsado added the scheduler. You would have, hey, schedule an appointment here with the link, and then you could say, hey, pause this after the schedule the appointment for the initial consult, because that's literally the first call to action I asked them to do with my response to their initial lead inquiry. But unfortunately, the follow-up doesn't talk to different workflows, so you can't do that. The way to get around this obviously is to build this entire workflow into your lead capture workflows. Which is probably something I should do just for all this to make more sense. But for this purpose right here, I just want to show you just this simple chunk of follow-up, just so you don't have to see all the other crazy workflows that go into it. But to show you where it would make sense to slide this in, if we go to some of my other workflows, we'll say my wedding lead capture, right? I have a, right, so send an insult or injury consult, right? This is a scheduler template. It immediately sends an appointment scheduler. And what you would do is just put in that additional, pause step like this. Just say, hold on till, or pause workflow. Well, yeah, no, I still don't like that. I don't know. I'm rambling now and I'm not being very helpful. But if Dubsado, you guys are looking, it'd be awesome if you could possibly have workflows talk to each other. It'd be really cool, because that would make it so that you can say, hey, this workflow, stop if something happens in this other workflow, especially for these follow-up sequences and change. But yeah, so that's how this all works for me. I'll show you guys what that email looks like for my scheduler inquiry consult, just so you have an idea what the scheduler looks like. So that was a wedding inquiry consult. The email chain right here is just, hey, thanks so much for your inquiry. Love to schedule a consultation meeting, talk more about your wedding. We do it over the phone, in person, whatever. Here's the link for it. And just all that fun stuff, right? And that's just built into that whole, send it out within that workflow that I showed you guys. And again, I'm very, very particular about how I do my stuff, because I do offer a number of different services. So I like having specific language to it. So again, I have a wedding consult scheduler specific to wedding inquiries, and then headshots, portraits, all that jazz. But anyways, this is going down a totally different rabbit hole. But yeah, so again, follow-up sequences, they're really, really handy for that initial, someone responds to you, all that kind of stuff. Again, if you only really offer one type of service, or you don't need to have multiple lead capture types, like myself as a photographer, like if you're doing just web design, it's just, I get one type of inquiry, you can totally build this into your standard lead capture, and that works great. And then you don't need to have 6 different ones and then all that jazz. But yeah, so anyways, I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you do want these emails as templates, just send a comment down in the video below. I'd be happy to send you a quick little Word doc that has got them all built in. You can copy paste them. I don't care. I'm happy to share. All right. And again, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. My name is Mike Glatzer of Mike Glatzer Photography, Atlanta photographer. Yeah, and if you guys have any questions at all regarding Dubsado, how to use it, set up, all that, I'm more than happy to help. So yeah, thanks guys. Have a great one.